Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jack Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
You've read the books. You've learned the rules. You've played the games. And so is your mom. Just making sure you're paying attention. Now, it's time for something completely off base. From the same guys who haven't done anything exciting yet are the Paladins of Podcast, Rob and Potato. Listen in as they talk about all things related to pen and paper games, challenge rules, and go off script. This is the high fantasy commentary you didn't ask for, but your mom did. This is the Epic Table Audio Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Epic Table Games Audio Show. Your Paladins of Podcast, Rob and Potato.
What's up, Rob?
Oh, dude, not so much. Not so much. Like normal, I know that we keep talking about getting back in the studio, but things, life, everything keeps getting in the way here in the Midwest. So, still remote, still doing all right, but I like the quality of our episodes.
Yeah, our audio quality is still good. It's just visual cues aren't there yet.
Well, that's all right. We both have a face made for radio, so it's not like it matters.
That is absolutely correct. That's what my mama always told me.
Oh, dude, I got so many more jokes, but we're going to skip that because we are not a comedy cast. We are a tabletop games cast.
That's right. What do we got on the docket?
So my wife sent me an article quite a while ago, and this article itself was actually posted on May 22nd of last year, 2021, from Comic Book Resources.
Ooh.
And I don't want to name the actual article itself just yet because I like the premise, and it has to do with spells, and I know that we generally play melee characters here between you and I, and we're starting to branch out into more casters because of necessity.
Yeah, that's right.
So there are spells that you look at and you read and you say, oh, cool. I know how I can do this. I know I can use a spell. But there are alternate uses that are not against the rules that you can use these spells with.
Ooh, kind of like thinking outside the box. I like it already.
Yes, and I absolutely want to talk about each one of these spells and kind of see where our conversation goes from there. And like normal, let's wrap it up with a monster spotlight. And you wanted to do some changes with the monster spotlight, right?
Yeah, I kind of want to change up how we're going to format it throughout the episodes, but we can get to that later.
Okay. Now, I mentioned something to you, and we both kind of like the idea. And I think your new format will really lend itself well if we keep timing just right. And hopefully I'll remember because I want to kind of save that for a surprise. But if I'm right, you know exactly what I'm talking about still.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So let's get into these 10 spells with alternate uses.
Ooh, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. So, number 10 on the list. Seal a room full of enemies with arcane lock.
Ooh.
Yes. So, we know that arcane lock is used generally on a chest or a lock of some kind to keep valuables safe. However, let's say you are in a dungeon and you can hear with good perception that there are enemies in a room that you don't necessarily need to go into right now. Just lock them in.
Right. Like, you know what? I don't want to trigger these guys to come out and get me in the back. So I'm going to lock this door down so they can't get out. That's a marvelous idea.
Right. And think about the flip side. Let's say you have to go through that room, right?
Right.
Go through the room, run through it, and make sure your spellcaster's the last one out and uses Arcane Lock after he closes the door. Now they're locked in the room and can't follow.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Right. Now, you can't break those locks, the arcane locks, without magical means. So for a lot of times when you're doing, especially lower level dungeon crawls, once you get arcane lock and whatnot, they can't follow very easily.
Oh,
The
yeah,
door might
definitely
break.
depending on who's in the room, you know?
Right. Now, the door might break before the lock does, and that's a different story. But overall, I mean, it's a small failsafe. It's kind of, I don't want to say untrapping the dungeon, but kind of trapping the dungeon your way.
Exactly. You think you're going to get me traps? I'll make my own traps.
Right.
I like the
Now,
idea of the door getting broken down, but the lock is still hanging there.
absolutely, and that's fun for flavor. All right, number 9. You ready for this one? I've actually done this before.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So the spell banishment usually takes the person that you cast it on and banishes it to their home plane. Okay.
Right, like Shadow Plane, stuff like that.
Yeah. So on many of my games previously, we'd be plane jumpers, and that's perfectly cool. But if we had to run, get out, do something really quickly, we would just banish ourselves and
Oh,
return back
heck
to the material
yeah.
plane.
Oh, heck yeah. That is a genius idea. I think if we were in a circumstance and I had that spell, I would totally think of that too.
Right. And we have done it. It's one of those instances where you may not be able to save the entire party, but you can likely, depending on your party makeup, get one or two.
Now, does banishment have spell resistance?
I think banishment has
Or
spell
like a
resist.
DC?
It definitely has a DC, but when you're casting it yourself, it's harmless.
I just love the
So
idea. All right, I'm going to get us out of here. Hold on, hold on. Jeff, you have spell resistance? Okay, might fail.
right, and I mean, it's one of those things. Damn it, I clicked the wrong link. I always, um, yeah, it does have spell resistance in Pathfinder, and it likely has spell resistance in older editions of D&D. I'm not familiar with 5e. I would soon assume that it follows very similar suit, though.
Oh, that makes sense. I feel it's very cut and dry in that regard.
Right, right. Ready for number
That's
8?
that's definitely a good use. Yeah, lay it on me,
I,
man.
I like it. All right, so um, adventuring parties usually want to obtain some sort of fortress or castle for a home base.
Oh yeah.
All right, build it with wall of stone.
Well, hold on. How long is that going to take?
So that depends on your level, the amount of stuff that you can manifest per casting, and how many castings you have versus how many times you're prepared.
I spent 5 weeks. I've got the first floor down.
Well, I mean, it's a good spell to utilize when trying to separate enemies during battle, but outside of combat, all you have to do is maintain concentration and the walls become permanent.
Man, what about floors though?
All right, with a little bit of creativity, same spell can be
Mhm.
used to make floors, ceilings, and stairs.
GM approval. I think that works.
I think even outside of GM approval, I mean, it doesn't say that it has to be maximum strength. You know, just has to take up certain amount of cubic space. I think you have your bare minimum space, and with a little bit of thought, you can 5 foot wall, 5 foot cubic walls all the way across, and essentially make a floor, and that's your base for the vertical wall.
That's definitely interesting. I like that a lot. It's
Yeah,
not like Tiny Hut or the other spell that allows you to build like a small house. You got more creativity with it. You can actually make a base that's going to be permanent there. Because the other spells, I think, wear off. I'm not positive on that. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Right.
There is a item that is called the Lyre of Building, I just so believe, where like it's basically wall of stone, but it's as if you were like 100 men building it in 6 seconds. So you can build it a lot faster and build a lot more. So
Oh,
if you can
nice.
combo that, heck yeah, that'd be sick.
Absolutely.
Make
I think
my
that's
own gray skull.
I don't know how advanced you can get because generally it states that it has to be a flat vertical type surface. So obviously, as you're building your walls, you have to, like you said, build it one floor at a time, but it's still going to be square.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if I remember correctly, you also have stone shape.
Ooh, there you go.
And
There
then
you go. That's the key to the pudding.
Yep. Once you get the base down, you can stone shape, so it looks like you want it. All right.
That's
So
funny.
we're going to talk about the next one on the list here, and when you guys camp down for the night, right? You guys usually make watches. Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody does that.
All right. The spellcaster usually has another line of defense. Do you remember what spell I'm talking about?
Not top of my head.
Alarm.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, that is a spell, isn't it?
It is. And so the way alarm generally works is people want to be alerted when they're being snuck up on.
Right.
Now, based on how it's worded and the way it works, the spell allows the caster to determine who doesn't set off the alarm. So the caster can place an alarm at all the exits of the evil castle that will only go off when the main villain leaves.
Ooh.
Yeah. So on the flip side, you're essentially taking alarm from being a inside to outside. I'm sorry, outside to inside perimeter and turning it in an inside to outside. Did I say the same thing twice?
Oh, I think I understood that. So instead of
Yeah.
an intruder coming in, it's a retreater leaving.
Right. So think about some of the implications of that, especially if you have an inclination that one of your party members is a traitor of some sort. And if he sneaks off on his watch in the middle of the night and you have an
Ooh,
alarm set off.
that's just juicy. I want that to happen now.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. So I think that's a great use for alarm. And it's not one that I've actually used before. I've always used it in a sense of I want to make sure nobody's sneaking up on me.
Right. And another thing too, what if you're like escorting somebody, like an asset to the king or something like that, and you can put that alarm to trigger when he starts running away at night, so
Mhm.
you can get him without waking up like, oh no, he ran away. Oh.
You know, what's funny is as you mentioned that, the first thing that actually came to mind was the movie with The Rock and Sean William Scott, The Rundown.
Oh, I love that movie.
like as soon as you started talking a little bit, I was like, oh, yep, The Rundown. I seen this. It would have helped that movie so much.
Oh heck yeah.
Oh man. So all right. This next one, I have not used in the way that they're detailing, but I have used rope trick. Well, precisely, I have been in a magic caster's rope trick.
Oh,
And
somebody got you with it.
well, it's actually an extra dimensional space, 60 feet in the air, and it lasts for an hour. And it's connected to a dangling rope, so you can, climb up, do a short rest, get your shit figured out, and then you pop back out.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, so it's a safe space. Now, this says that technically, if the party needs to get over something about 60 feet tall, rope trick could provide the perfect solution. By ignoring the pocket dimension, the party can utilize the rope like a magic grappling hook, only without the worry of it dislodging.
Ooh, I like that. That's cool.
Yes. So you cast rope trick, it's sitting up there 60 feet, and you climb up the rope, and then you just hop onto the ledge that you need.
Oh heck yeah. That is a rogue's number one most valuable tool now. That's amazing.
Somebody else's rope trick. Now, what's funny is some people will even say that you can carry, not carry, but drag the rope trick like a balloon. Um, I've
Oh,
seen
that's
some people say
interesting.
I've seen some people say yes to that. I've seen some people say no. So that idea is generally purely up to the DM. But in this case here, you're essentially using rope trick to climb a rope, and that's exactly what it's used for. You're only foregoing the safety of the extra dimensional space.
I really like that. I think that'd be really fun to use and possibly be able to even chain multiple rope tricks to scale like a whole castle or a mountainside.
hmm You could if there was a ledge every 60 feet, and if you had enough castings.
Right, right. Everything has to line up perfectly.
Yeah, it would. And the first time the DM's gonna be like, "Ah, you tricky bastard," but the second time is like, "Absolutely not. It's not gonna work."
No, you're not gonna go around my plot again.
Right, right. Now, I mean, traditionally we've used rope trick, for example, um, if we're getting hounded by not magical beasts but animals, and obviously they get bored after about an hour anyway. So rope trick, you climb up, you pull the rope in, you hang out.
Oh
you,
yeah.
you you pop your head out every now and then, and chances are they're eventually going to go.
Pop your head out, cast fireball, you know.
Oh, dude, yeah. So this next one, bothers me. I hate it actually.
Ooh.
So it's based off of the spell of Sanctuary, and it allows an aura of protection around the target. So anybody attacking someone affected by Sanctuary must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or target something else.
Right. Pretty
This would
straightforward.
this use would allow multiple. You have to have it ready to cast multiple times, and then cast it on essentially everybody involved in a fight. Um, and obviously, usually it's either like NPC versus NPC, and you're trying to stop a fight, or it's NPCs against you. So you cast it on everybody, and all of a sudden there's no fight. It only lasts a minute, but now you have an opportunity to talk fast and try to solve shit.
Interesting. That sounds like a lot of spells to kind of use up, but I could see like a good like pacifist cleric or something utilizing that very well. Diplomacy for the win, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate it, and it's not because I love combat. I actually I think combat's just generally necessary sometimes for to make sure you're covering all your bases for players who are enjoying the game.
Right.
But when somebody is just constantly getting in the way of combat with Sanctuary, it seems to take out a lot of the adrenaline in the game.
Oh, I can see
And
that.
yeah, I hate it. Like every now and then, fine, but
Yeah, moderation, but not, excessive.
right. So it's good use, but I'm not a huge fan of that one.
If it was me, I would do that sanctuary spamming, I guess I'd call it. I'd do that if there's a lot of big name NPCs that are involved in a very intense spot where you don't need any of them to die. You need them to
hmm
live to push on the story, and this is the
Yep.
best way to save
Yep.
them all with a couple bandits.
I, I know I wouldn't, but I have played with people who would. So it gets kind of like, it's kind of like you're studying for this test and you never get to take it because some jerk off decides that you don't need to fight, even though that's
I've been trying my whole life for this. My sword is getting rusty.
right. Right. All right. So this next one is not one that I've thought of like this, and I really like it on the list. It's number 4, so it's getting into those really creative uses based on how things work.
Nice.
All right. It's see invisibility.
Okay, I was just reading that the other day, actually.
All right. What do you remember from see invisibility?
You have to spend an action to try to locate someone that's invisible.
All right.
And there's a lot of weird text to it too, last I checked.
A little bit. Now, again, were you reading for Pathfinder or D&D?
Pathfinder.
All right. So D&D's spells are a little bit differently. Remember, these are all based around Dungeons and Dragons here. Um, but casting see invisibility on yourself allows you to look into the ethereal plane. Seeing ethereal creatures and objects as ghostly and translucent. So you know what that means, right?
You can see ghost people.
So the ethereal plane actually is a border realm that overlaps the material plane.
Right.
And you could use see invisibility to look into it to reveal knowledge about a place or person, or if you need to find out if something's haunted.
That is actually pretty interesting.
Uh-huh.
I would never have thought of that. I would have
Yep.
only used see invisibility if we are encountering a monster that would go invisible. That's it.
Right. Right.
Will I
And
remember this trick? Probably not, but that's a dope trick.
right. So that also means that there are times where spellcasters can cast a spell that will take them, that will essentially turn them into a ghost of some kind, and they disappear from the material plane. And technically, you could see them with see invisibility because they are on the ethereal plane that overlaps.
Right.
So, again, I mean, a lot of times we're thinking about these situations that have come up in our games, but I've been reading a lot of things about other people's games, and they just seem kind of bland. They don't have a lot of this neat, uh, out of the box stuff. But what I'm also reading, to get a little bit away from the article for a second here, is that a lot of people are playing through pre-existing modules, and
Right.
a lot of the horror stories that I'm trying not to read anymore because, oh my god,
They're
um,
good though, aren't they?
no, oh my god, no. Um, a lot of the RPG horror stories seem to be about homebrew games, and I'm like, oh man. So the options and opportunity for creative uses is definitely there. It just doesn't seem like people allow it, which sucks.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a hard battle and a hard balance to accomplish, I guess.
Mhm.
Hard to describe that situation. I feel as well with homebrew, you're definitely more uh in line with having hiccups and issues because you're
Yeah,
trying to bob and weave more. If you're running a
yeah,
module, at least you got a little bit of structure, but I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. That's true. That's true. All right, top three. You want to take a guess at number three?
Uh, wish.
See, what alternative use for wish could there be besides wishing dumb things like we've talked about before?
Uh, the alternative use for wish is to get more wishes. That's what I always do when I get a genie. Like I got 3 wishes, I want 5 more.
That's not how any wish from anybody works, including genies. And
I know, but man can
B,
dream.
that's not even an alternative use.
It's not
Now,
really.
side note, I would like to go back to that episode that we're talking about stupid wishes. And next time I have the opportunity to wish for something, I am A, going to out of character find out if there's a Tarask in the world, and B, wish it had wings.
You monster.
You know, you know what? I will specifically make a character that's lined up just for that specific wish, by the way. And I will tell nobody.
Like a Tarask worshiper.
Not not even. It's just like, Rob, you're a fighter. Why do you have knowledge in absolutely obscure information? Like, the time for you to know shall pass eventually.
as I'm sending private messages to the DM.
I wouldn't even tell the DM my plan. It'd come out of nowhere. I'd be like, "Yo, did Tyraxis like exist in your world?" You'd be like, "How would you even know?" I'm like, "All right, well, let me just roll the knowledge for that," and I made sure to take all of them for this specific instance.
You know, it's crazy. I got a bit of luck, so I get to roll twice.
and take the better.
Yeah.
Yep. No. So number 3 actually comes in with clone.
Oh, clone.
Yeah. So it's actually a very powerful spell. If you think about it.
It is. You're making a Boba Fett, Django.
Sure.
Star Wars
Now,
reference.
oh, I get it. I get it. But this in particular is tweaked a little bit.
Oh yeah?
So yeah. Now when you think of clone, when you create a clone, especially in the magic sense, you're essentially saying, I'm gonna clone myself as is.
Yeah, copy paste at my current level.
Right. Now specifically, you can alter the maturity of the cloned body.
Okay.
So when you die, they can be brought back younger than they were before.
Oh heck yeah. That's how I would
And
do it.
it sums this up as a wise old wizard using this trick could live forever as long as they keep it up.
Oh heck yeah. It's like a lich, but more benevolent, I guess.
If they're a good guy,
Right. That's
I
that.
mean,
That's very interesting.
truthfully, as long as you don't do anything to get hunted down and constantly die by old age, you could certainly clone yourself at a slightly younger age. You keep your same mind.
Hey, keep the same level.
Yeah.
Albeit,
Yeah.
if you made the clone at X level and you've leveled like 4 times, you're going to be stunted a little bit, but that's not so bad.
Well, obviously, you don't want to make him that far in advance.
I mean, it all
But-
depends on story. I mean, you could probably swing that, it'd be pretty cool. But it's all circumstantial. What about simulacrum? Isn't that like a clone thing as well, or is that
You
a
know,
D&D thing?
I read the spell. I think that's a Pathfinder thing.
Oh, okay.
So
I want to say it's another like clone-esque idea that you could probably pull off, but I think it's not exact carbon copy of you. It's like without your intellect or something, so they're more like a puppet. I don't know.
Mhm.
It definitely makes me want to make a wizard with a certain theme.
yeah.
That'd be cool.
Now I'm reading up on clone real quick, especially for D&D here. And so this is really cool. The clone forms inside a sealed vessel and grows to full size and maturity after 120 days. You can also choose to have the clone be a younger version of the same creature. It remains inert and endures indefinitely as long as its vessel remains undisturbed. So at any time the clone matures, at any time after the clone matures, if the original creature dies, its soul transfers to the clone, provided that the soul is free and willing to return. The clone is physically identical to the original and has the same personality, memories, and abilities, but none of the original's equipment. The
That is
original
really
creature,
cool.
yeah, the original creature's physical remains, if they still exist, become inert and can't thereafter be restored to life, since the creature's soul is elsewhere.
Yeah, it's nice that they had that last line there because I can see some players be like, well, we could reincarnate the body of this guy. No, you can't.
Yep.
That's nice. That's nice. I like that idea.
It's not bad. All right. You want to try again? Take a guess for the top two, one of the top two?
Let's see. Can you give me a hint? Is it like a high level spell or like a very surprising low level spell?
I'd say high level spell, and
Okay.
you have been in a game where the party has done it,
Ooh.
and it has to deal with travel.
Ooh. Maybe teleport.
Close.
Ooh.
Plane shift.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
All right.
That
So
was
now
pretty
you've hit it.
close.
You were, and you hit the head here when you were talking about teleport, because teleportation comes with a little bit of a danger to it. For instance, you could end up in a wall if you don't roll right.
Right. It's all about percentages and stuff.
Yeah, but plane shift has different rules. So you can plane shift to locations in other planes without any worry of mishap. So while you could use plane shift twice to get to a location that might take a little bit longer, it'll be a trip without worry.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
yeah, you know where you want to go. You plane
Right.
shift. Your first plane shift is essentially a pit stop, and then you plane shift back to the original plane you were on in the location you wanted to be at. And
So you're plane shifting to one plane, and then you run over here. Then you plane shift back, and you're in that location, just in a different plane.
yeah, so you're where you wanted to go without the risk of running into a wall.
That's nice. That's nice. You just gotta make sure you have a map so you can navigate properly, or else you're gonna come back and fall in a lake or something.
Yep.
I took the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yep. All right.
That's interesting.
All right. All right. Here it is. Here it is. This is the one that I like, actually. I have done on multiple occasions when I play casters.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And this one is a spell that does not get a whole lot of use. You want to take a guess at this one?
Prestidigitation.
No, but that would be a super low level spell. This one is a first level spell.
What is it?
Sleep.
Sleep? Oh, oh, I've definitely heard a lot of builds that build around sleep. Knock
Yep.
out the guards, what have you.
Right.
That'd be cool.
So here's the issue. The spell sends creatures into a magical slumber. You roll 5d8. And the total is how many hit points of creatures this spell can affect. So that means that essentially, if you and I are characters and you're level 6, I can only affect 5d8. So if I rolled 5 ones, absolute Yahtzee, I guess, I can affect 5 hit points of creatures.
Okay.
All right, so it's worded a little funky here. Even if it was 5 hit die, for example, and you're level 6, I can't affect you because you are outside of the hit range.
Exactly.
So I could essentially, based on 5e rules, I could beat you down so you have low enough health where you're gonna fall under that 5d8 hit point rule anyway.
And just knock me out.
Right. At that point, it's just easier to kill you.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's true. It's really like I want to make sure that you are not talking, but I don't want you dead. I don't want to knock you out either because that means I gotta stabilize you. Just go to
Yep.
sleep.
Yep. So what you can do, and I have done, is combine sleep with polymorph.
Ooh, you shapeshift into a creature with less HP. Is that the idea?
Yes, sir.
Turn that guy into a chicken and knock him out. I
Yep.
like it.
Yep. Now, sleep only lasts for a minute, so you have 1 minute to tie him up, put him in a cage, or whatever you need to do. But I've done this, and I mean, once you can kind of get your opponent, for example, down to a low enough level where it's super effective, it's one of those things that is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, heck yeah.
So
That's a
I
very
think,
good utility spell.
yeah, Absolutely. But, I mean, you do have to combine it with a little bit of a higher level spell, which is unfortunate. However, as long as you are at a high enough level, it is a really easy way to get around, just honestly, bigger bad guys.
Right, and especially with like quicken meta magic rods, you can totally pull them off. Both of them in one turn. You don't have to worry about
Yeah.
wasting an action, stuff like that. That can be very useful.
Yeah, especially if all of that stuff is doable in every version. Just remember, we have so many different versions out. I mean, play styles
True.
are different.
That is
Yeah,
absolutely true.
yeah. And while I like this number one is it's right there, and they capture it because you have to use polymorph. And if that's not the way you're going, I think Pathfinder has a cleric ability, depending on the domain that you take, that will allow you to cast a spell that has no saving throw. And there we go. So no, I know what I was thinking, but I guess it works differently in my mind than it does for real, which is unfortunate. I was thinking that in the madness domain, the cleric has vision of madness, and it's a melee
Oh
touch
yeah.
attack that you can affect saving throws or skill checks, and they receive a bonus to one and a penalty to the other two types, attack roll, saving throws, or skill checks. Uh,
Right.
I mean, it fades after 3 rounds, but there's no um, no resistance to it. It's not limited by hit die, and
Exactly.
I want to say that I was either confusing this one with another ability that was similar, but it used sleep as the base versus vision of madness.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so kind of fun and cool. But those are the 10 spells that have an interesting twist to use them alternatively.
Yeah, I mean, definitely look into making that happen in your game because thinking outside the box with those spells, it definitely make your DM go, okay, hold on a second, what are you doing? Oh,
Right,
great, great, okay.
right. And it sounds like you kind of got the gripiness right there to it because a lot of DMs don't like that alternative use style, even though it's completely legal because it throws things out the window.
Are you sure that's
And
raw? Is a third party?
oh my god! And so this goes back to that horror story issue that I was having. That I said I have to stop reading them because so often I keep getting these stories that I was going to write up a blog post about this because it's so ridiculous. By the way, um, but people will talk about how they're setting up the expectations of what they want their story to be, right?
Right.
And some of these examples that I'm going to kind of delay right here, not delay, excuse me, detail, is that um, while they should be generalized, it should kind of be watered down versions of what you want the players to be. So a good example of this is a world that has a very little hope left after a tyrannical king bled dry the kingdom's resources and finances. You're the shining hope of heroes. Even as a misfit ragtag group of adventurers, you are still the heroes.
Right.
So that's the expectation. You set it, you know what the story setting is, right?
Yeah.
Good. Now, this is what I'm tired of reading, and this is what I read all the time. I've planned an open world sandbox style game where you can be anything your heart desires. I'm not looking for anyone without role playing experience, and you have to be either a ranger or a fighter because I have a paladin reserved for my friend who may or may not join us. Also, your primary ability that makes your class worthwhile is going to be unavailable to you. These limits help the immersion of the story. Every race is available as long as it's from the player's handbook, and wizards can't get too powerful, so they're limited to 4 levels max. Now, remember, guys, have fun and let me know if you're available for my open world homebrew game.
No.
Right.
No,
Like,
thank you.
okay. You're kind of selling it, right? First sentence. I've got an open world sandbox style game where you can be anything your heart desires.
And
As
then
long as
you
you're not
took away everything that my heart desired.
Yeah, as long as you're not any of that stuff.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know how much time you spend on RPG horror stories on Reddit, but that is the kind of crap that some of these DMs are putting out. I've seen it on Looking for Game and everything, dude. It's so ridiculous that at this point, I'm just thinking about DMing another game for a bunch of random strangers on the internet. We'll just do it on Discord.
Yeah, I mean, totally could. I
I mean,
feel my only restriction, if I were to like post this online for like a I don't know, like a wanted ad, essentially, the only thing I restrict is third party. And even then, just talk to me about it. If I like it enough, if you can spin it the right way, I'd give it to you. Because we're trying to
and
have
that
fun here, dang it.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, we've talked about how third-party content shouldn't continuously be overlooked because in the newer versions of the game, especially 5th edition, they really opened it up and things are a lot more balanced now
Yeah.
because all of the old bloated rules from previous editions, Pathfinder had the same issue, is that um they just helped convolute everything. It was easier not to include it.
Right, right.
Um
The streamlined model really does help.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I told you about this. I don't know if I mentioned it in one of our episodes or not, but I got a third party bestiary for Pathfinder. And they were talking it up major. Like
Oh
all the
yeah.
reviews. Yeah, the reviews, the synopsises, they were talking about brand new monsters and how they had I think it was like 150 pages of in-depth monster definitions and explanations, etc. And so I got it. I'm like, cool, let's check this out. And I'm looking at it, and it's 14 brand new monsters and like 58 monsters that are already in the existing Pathfinder bestiaries.
Oh, they just kind of tweaked them and called it brand new, essentially.
No, what they did is they're like, this is, I know for an instance that Scarecrow is in the book. It's like, this is the Scarecrow, and its stats are in this book on this page. And here's just some more lore and information about them and how you may use them in your game.
Hmm.
Dude, I spent money on that book. I wish I didn't.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a what do you
Waste.
call it? A red herring or a catfish.
You know, Catfish is
Duped me
probably a good word.
again.
Duped the first time. I haven't actually picked up an actual third party bestiary style supplement since. But I did pick up the as we've talked about, the Midgar setting, and those are technically third party.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
But
I feel the settings are the easiest ones to accept because it's just the
yeah,
setting.
you're changing setting, you're changing world. It's the same monsters, just different location essentially.
Even with equipment like weapons and armor, like that's not going to change it too much. I can see
Right.
spells being the most contested aspect of third party content.
Yeah, they can be. And I mean, honestly, I think coming from a background in 3.5, our biggest issue was actually classes because they were classes or races that were third party
Yeah.
and they were overpowered or underpowered and it was no longer balanced. So we had that issue there. Um, Now, speaking of third party, I think we've mentioned before, especially in Pathfinder, is that psionics itself is actually third party.
That is true. Technically, it is.
Yep.
It's
But
one of
so many
those
people,
things that everyone likes. Oh no, it's not third party. When you look it up, yeah, it's third party.
right. And so many people utilize it, and after so long, they just forget that it's technically party.
Exactly.
But it's a system that has been established since 3.5, and because they ported over so much stuff, it's just whoever decided to do the psionics unleashed and psionics unbound and whatnot um, for their respective systems put a lot of thought into it. I like the way that worked out.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of those aspects of any third party avenue. If you really take a look at how much time and effort they put into it, definitely give it the time of day to make sure that this is something that you don't want to, you want to not include or not. You know what I mean?
Right,
It,
right.
Come on. I mean, so some of the third party stuff is like, well, you just put a couple of numbers together and you called it good. Then you got stuff like Psionics where they really took the time and effort to make it a legit setup. Like, come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, it shouldn't be hard to look at something third party and be like, man, I don't know if this is unbalanced or not. I mean, seriously, it's not that hard. And
It's not.
I say that full well knowing that some people don't have the innate ability or natural ability to do it right off the bat. But when you have a little bit of experience, and you don't need a lot. In fact, sometimes you need zero experience. Um,
To really pull
for
it off.
Right. Like, for example, I'll use monster classes because that's not something that we've talked about very frequently. It's something that you have limited experience on, but I've played plenty of monster classes. And what a monster class does is it takes away your class levels, for example. So if you're playing a certain monster, that takes away 3 class levels, and each game uses different terminology for what those are called. Sometimes it's CR or your effective class level or ECL rating.
Or like racial points, RP or something.
If you're building a class, yeah, sometimes that works. That's Pathfinder. Um, but you take them, and if you have a effective level of 6, but you have monster class levels that are a total of 4, that means you have 2 class levels you can take.
Right. And you might
And
think that's a little underpowered, but the monster class levels kind of even it out. They got their own
well,
benefits.
yeah, and their benefits are usually much stronger compared to just straight classes.
Right.
So it's one of those instances where if you're looking at it and you've determined that um, this monster class or this third party class that gets a plus 15 to a specific stat and 3 natural attacks, and he's got 2 supernatural abilities that make him overpowered to hell, and he's only level 2. I mean, you know by looking
Yeah.
at him, automatically, like, oh yeah, no, this is not gonna.
The only way this is going to work is if I give all the other party members a bit of a boost.
Oh man, we've done that too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. All right. So this guy here wanted his third party raise, but he has this crazy special ability. I'm going to give everyone else an equally special ability so no one can gripe about it. Okay. Okay.
Right, right. Now, kind
You
of,
get an ability
kind of
and you
moving,
get an ability.
kind of moving into a slightly different topic, but in the same vein. Did you know that in Pathfinder you have what are called story feats?
Yeah, yeah. Story feats is one of those things I never really looked into because I thought that was pertaining to like an adventure path.
So you can do certain things in the game, and you get story feats, and these story feats are essentially like think of them like achievements, bonuses for achievements. One of
Right.
them is
Okay.
if you heal 1,000 hit points of damage on one player, for example, you become more effective at healing everybody.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So, um, what I've been doing, especially in our game, I haven't told anybody, so you're the first to know, is kind of keeping track, of what everybody's been doing, and so I can award story points, not story points, but story feats, and that should help keep the party gaining in power and level, considering that we're starting to enter into the I'll say mid-level grind slog that we talked about earlier, one of the XP valleys.
That's right. We are getting into that dip, and that's a
Yeah,
cool way to give everyone a individual progression that matches their play style and gives them the incentive to keep playing the way they're playing. That's awesome.
I completely agree.
I'm
Um,
definitely gonna put story feats in my game when I get my game rolling. That'd be super cool.
well, it is cool. It's a lot of work to keep track of everything,
Oh, for
and you don't
sure.
you don't want to be like, hey, I want you to take the story feat, but you got to do this. I mean, you can. That makes it feel a little bit more video gamey, but ultimately,
Yeah,
if you
give them all the list of what they can get, and then he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to work toward getting that."
excuse me, right? And I mean, you could do it that way, but ultimately, I think it's way more fun if, for instance, I'll use this healing one, like I mentioned earlier. If all of a sudden you've hit that 1,000 point threshold, and as the DM, you're like, you notice that as you continue to heal these individuals, your healing feels more effective, and you are actually granted a bonus from doing such heavenly work that your healing has increased by another D8 or something like that.
Right, right. The surprise factor is what's going to rejuvenate them and want to keep coming back to the table.
Right.
I
And
love it.
we dig that. So, all right, let's see. Next up we have the monster spotlight, and I wanted to remind everybody that you're changing up the format a little bit, and it has to do with the character spotlight as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I was starting to get kind of burnt out trying to constantly make characters for the spotlight because surprisingly, working full time and whatnot, it was really hard to get enough time I needed. So
I get that.
what I decided to do, and hopefully everyone likes this idea, is kind of stretch out the character spotlight, give it a bit more spacing. So instead of every other, it'll be every 3 monster spotlights, we'll get a character spotlight.
All
Give
right.
me a bit more time to really polish the characters out, get more monsters from other game systems out there a bit faster. I think everyone would enjoy that as a whole. And also, I want to strafe away from Pathfinder a little bit. I want to make characters from other game systems. And it's a lot of reading, a lot of trying to figure it out because I've only played Pathfinder,
Right. Yeah.
and I want to do this. I think it'd be really nice to, hey, here's a character spotlight from like the One Ring game or the
Tales
Fallout
from the
game,
Loop.
what have you.
Right. Absolutely. I like that. I dig it. I think it'll work out very well, especially because I presented this idea to you earlier before we were recording here, and that was kind of like a monster battle scenario.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you
And
want to do that instead of the monster spotlight, or you want to do it both?
well, what I was thinking is as we're talking about this and getting this idea well developed is actually randomly choosing a monster. Like you have your monster um you have your monster spotlight picked out for the night, right?
Right.
And then we'll randomly pit it up against of one of the monsters from the bestiaries.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. And do you want to like get some dice and like fight each other, basically?
No,
Team me, team you, or just like look at the stats and just kind of jib
no,
jab
we
to see who would win.
we can look at the stats and jib jab to see who wins. Otherwise, our listeners are going to listen to us rolling dice while we're bullshitting and wonder what the hell's going on.
2.5 hours later, all right, I'll roll a crit. Oh my god, I got him.
Right, right. We already know that battle can take forever, so drawing it out in this format, oh man, would I think
I
would be
get
hell to look
4
forward.
attacks and I can also fly. So
Well, that's the exact reason this monster would kick your monster's ass.
my monster casts Flash of Insight.
Yeah, well, my monster banishes yours.
Oh no, cast maze before you do that.
What monster do you have for us today?
All right, this is a Pathfinder exclusive monster. I know what I just said, but this is a monster I've been wanting to talk about for a while, actually.
Yeah,
Pathfinder exclusive. It is the War Cat. Pretty sure everybody
Warcat.
knows the War Cat.
I know a saber-tooth tiger.
Oh, dude. So the War Cat is a huge animal. CR13. This massive cat-like creature has the lithe grace of a feline despite a shell-like armor of segmented plates all over its backside.
Why would we all be familiar with this?
Well, because this is a creature that you can eventually wild shape into as a druid, and it's one of the most common druid builds.
Really?
Yeah, Yeah, when you get to a point where you can become a war cat, you're a beast.
I obviously don't play enough druids. All right, tell me a little bit more about this guy.
So, right off the bat, they got 28 AC, so that's gonna be hard to penetrate.
Yeah, now is most of that AC natural AC, or does it
Uh,
come from dexterity?
ooh, good point. Good point. Let's see. Most of it is natural because its dexterity is only 18.
Okay,
That's what, a
so
+4?
yeah, no 3. I think you get 4. I don't remember right now,
Yeah, I think it's plus
dude.
four.
Dude,
Yes,
I'm so
plus 16 natural armor. Whew.
man. I hate to be bogged down by being tired, but sorry, some of my mind it feels like it's slightly distracted. So with the 16 natural armor, you're looking at things like touch AC and flat-footed. There's got to be a pretty big dip, right? I mean, there usually
Oh,
is a big dip,
with touch, yeah, touch AC is pretty deplorable, being only a 12.
right? So I
But
mean, all
flat-footed
that,
is only 24, so that's not so bad either.
right? But that means that I mean, honestly, all that natural armor goes out the window when you're casting touch spells,
Right, or if you
or
got a gun.
right, or if you're resolving anything for that matter against touch AC, which it's common in these games, yeah, and um, it's one of those things that it's a great base. I'm going to say that's a great base, and I like that.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
when you're thinking about ways around it, that's the first thing you think of. Okay, high AC. How do I get to touch? Um, so I'll a little bit of a minus here, but what else is the biggest draw?
The biggest draw, I think, is its sheer powerhouse capability. It takes up 15 feet of space with a 15
Okay,
feet of reach. It can
yeah,
pounce, it can rend, it can trample, it can grab with a bite, and after 2 claws, of course, it can do the rend.
okay,
Um, it has power attack, improved critical. It has a feat called Iron Will. It can
yep.
cleave. It has Die Hard.
So this guy's really set up. I mean, thinking about it as an animal, um,
Yeah,
hearing
animals
something
don't really get those crazy ass feats.
right, and thinking and listening to the feats that he's getting, um, they're really a lot of the standard feats that I would set up the fighter.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we have an animal that has been maximized at least a little bit to attack in melee and proficient in his natural attacks.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, plus
so
22 to bite, just as is. Whew.
yeah, I dig it. Now, is it a magical beast with an alignment, or is it more of a natural animal that's just neutral?
It is a neutral, huge animal.
Okay. Okay, I dig that too. So, like you said, completely native to Pathfinder. It's a Pathfinder specific animal. Does it give us any kind of lore to it? What kind of um, organization does it kind of
Oh
follow?
yeah.
What? Yeah,
So
fill us in on that.
it lives in cold hills or mountains, and it likes to be either by itself or at least with a pair. War cats are massive creatures with the shapes and habits of great cats, but with the armored skin of armadillos, weighing
Really?
4,000 pounds and
Holy
stretching
cow!
25 feet from
Holy
nose
cow!
to base of its tail. A war cat is a dangerous predator with a large territory. Wild war cats hunt alone or with a single mate and have been known to take down prey ranging from megafauna to giants and even young dragons. Some orc
Wow.
clans catch war cats as cubs and train them to serve the clan. These beasts often act as mounts for the clan's champions, who ride them into battle.
I dig that. I dig that. And as you were talking about their ecology, um, where they kind of live and hang out, do you usually follow a lot of that? Like, hey, we're in a cold area, we're going to get to a war cat, or do you say, you know what, they seem to really fit the concept of my desert hills?
Yeah, I feel where my imagination takes me. I just kind of plop whatever I want there. I don't really like go,
Okay.
oh, we're in this area, so let me just look up what's in this area. Nah.
Right.
If it's
Sure.
gonna be a desert war cat, it's gonna be a desert war cat.
That's fair. I do a little bit of both. I'm like, we're in the setting. This monster would fit no matter what. And if I want to bring them into something else, I might flavor it a little bit differently. Like
Right,
like
right.
video games. If you're in a desert, they're gonna have the red skin because they're hot.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's something I
uh,
did with our game with the manta drakes. I kind of
yeah,
described them a little bit differently because they weren't your traditional manta drake.
right.
I can't remember exactly what I did at the top of my head, but it was like the coloration of the scales, and they had a big collar on their necks and stuff.
I think I remember a
Um,
little bit of that.
but yeah, I definitely would do that. Kind of like Monster Hunter. You got the
Hmm.
different variations of the same creature because they're in a different climate. I
Yeah,
think that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Monster Hunter, dude, did you see the movie? It was horrible.
Dude, oh my god. I watched that in theaters and it was my worst theater experience since uh Love You Crazy. Have you seen that movie? Whew.
No, I don't think I have, and I can't believe you wasted money on Monster Hunter.
Oh, well, here's the best part. It was a birthday like party gift for my niece. So I didn't have to pay a dime for it, but I
And
wasted 2 hours.
that is the movie that you held up game for that day?
Yeah. I forgot about that. Well, the
Dude,
thing was, it was supposed to end a lot sooner, but they dragged it on a whole half hour with ads and commercials.
bro, that's how the movie theater works.
Well, if it says the movie
And
starts at this time, it should start at this time, not a half hour
and
later.
they didn't drag it out through ads. They dragged it out by at least a half hour through all the stupid BS in the dumb movie.
Dude, that movie was so bad.
Wow.
And I hear they're making a sequel. I hope they don't.
No, no, dude, it already flopped. It lost money.
Oh, it's so
And
bad.
and honestly,
At
I
least
will
the
have to
dragons look good.
I don't care. I don't care.
Oh,
It's
one of the
yeah.
worst moments for me was the beginning. Remember that one guy with the sniper? He's like running down the hill. Oh, I see
Yeah.
something. He pulls the gun up to his face and he closes the wrong eye to look down the scope.
You know, the movie was so bad I don't remember that kind of mistake.
I
In
caught
fact,
that instantly. I raised my hands up in the air. I'm like, are you serious?
so so um I could talk movies pretty much nonstop. But I have an issue with um how do you say her last name? Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, Mila Jovovich.
And I'm not saying that she is a bad um, movie star. She has definitely earned a place in
Yes.
film. But since the Resident Evil series, it seems like she gets typecasted in these action roles she just doesn't fit in.
Well, the worst thing is most of those action movie roles are directed by her husband.
I know.
So it's it's all in a niche enterprise for them, I guess.
Honestly, this comparison may not go over well, but honestly, I think the duo of action film star and director that we're talking about here is barely a step up from Yui Bowl.
I like that. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Are you familiar with Yui Bowl?
No, but I like it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So Yui Boll is a German film director who couldn't ever get financing for his horrible films, so he paid for them out of pocket. And they were oftentimes video game adaptations, like God, what is the name of that first person shooter you play at arcades and you shoot all the zombies? Um,
Oh, House of the Dead?
yes, he made
Oh,
a
that
House
was
of the Dead.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I'm following.
All right. So you remember how bad that movie was?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine all of his movies at least that bad, except for the Rampage series. That one was pretty funny. I like that one.
Oh yeah, I do like that one too. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So his movies were so bad, and people gave him so much crap. He actually he made a public announcement that he was going to quit directing, and nobody shed a tear. And to be absolutely honest, in my personal opinion, I don't know if there was a buffer between Wes Anderson and Mila Jovovich, the duo there, and Uwe Boll.
I mean, they could be like really good friends, at least. Who knows?
I don't know. And like I said, both Wes Anderson and Mila Jovovich have fantastic standing credits on their own. You know, they've got a division between the two of them, and they're in projects that suit them, that work really well. But together, I would much rather just throw my movie theater admission in the trash.
You know, I honestly would agree. I love Mila all until the second Resident Evil movie. Then felt like every other movie after that, I'm like, this is really taking downhill. Yeah, like, geez, I think she did one that was like the Fourth Encounter, when she was like doing a documentary sort of movie with alien abductions and stuff. That was completely different, and I liked that, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
And
right.
I don't want to stretch this out any further, but after what happened in one of their latest Resident Evil movies with the stunt double for Mila, after what happened there and how they treated her afterwards, I lost so much respect for Mila and Wes and everyone else involved. It's disgusting.
I'm not familiar with the story. You're going to have to at least elaborate before we close this episode out.
All right, I will. So, in one of the newer movies, there is a scene where they're on a motorcycle and doing this crazy action stunt sort of deal with the zombies and this and that. And they didn't rig it properly, and the stunt failed. The stunt double lost her arm.
Dude, I remember hearing a little bit about that. I did not know what film it was on.
And they screwed her over on all the money. They were trying to screw her over on accreditation of being the stunt double. They want to pull her insurance and this and that, making her pay everything out of pocket and ruining her career in the process. And Mila didn't say a dang thing to the press. No contact, no whatsoever. She just wiped her hands and wanted to be silent about it. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that's kind of what you see, though, in a lot of films. Look at the issue with the Alec Baldwin
with the gun. Yeah, that's sad.
And Rust, you know, he really hasn't said too much about it. And by the time he said a lot of things, you know, we kind of moved on to the next topic.
Right. People already made up their minds and didn't care anymore. But man, during that time, I felt bad for Alec Baldwin. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I didn't follow along as to what happened because so much of it started off as a he said, she said, and this should be the legal ramifications regardless. And like, you know, this is starting to branch into something that it shouldn't be. It's a tragic accident, and before we have all the information, we have got to see what's going on. We shouldn't be making any accusations.
Exactly. And I think that's sad that nowadays people want to do the you are guilty until you're proven innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty.
Why would we do that? I mean, come on, we are an entire blame culture.
We really are, man. We really are. I don't like how things are heading lately, but I don't want to get into that rabbit hole.
No, we'll save that for off the microphone. So, all right, guys, check us out on Facebook at Epic Table Games or online directly at epictablegames.com. And remember, we're on Spotify, so you can actually send us a voice message through Spotify. We can get you on the episode. We can answer questions and whatnot. We'd really look forward to doing more of this with more interaction with the listeners. And maybe we can pull in a guest or two. We're going to start seeing about our Facebook page, getting that a little bit more active, bringing some Facebook group members on and whatnot if we can.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, it's just trying to get things set up. And I know our Facebook page has been a little bit more inactive than I like, but dude, life is so busy and I'm trying to stay away from Facebook for my family. So managing that at the same time has been a little bit more difficult.
Yes, it has. I definitely agree with you there. It's the same boat I'm in.
Right. But guys, we'll get there. So remember, check us out at Epic Table Games, and we will see you next time.
Love you guys. Peace.
Epic Table Games. Stress, nights, roll, nights, fantastic. Table audio show with the paladins of the podcast, Rob and Potato. Until next time, stay in touch on Facebook at Epic Table Games and online at epictablegames.com. Yeah.